So I want to go into a little bit into it more, right? More of a deeper dive. Whether or not I think BBU, the Beckyboopuniverse, is going to be a worthy competitor to the LCU. And in my original video, I felt like I didn't really go in depth because I was already focused on other stuff, and then later on I stream. Now, after a little bit of time has passed, a little bit of my thoughts are a lot more well organized, I can probably come into this with a more different mindset, I guess. Do I think the BBU is a worthy competitor? Not really. And in my live stream that had to be taken down, it's privated, but I had to take it down because of I was covering the Hormaxer versus Ben Thorpe debate, and Hormaxer said a slur, and I'm like, God dang it. But my point is it a worthy competitor? And the reason I say no is just due to a number of reasons. First up, the numbers that are there we saw last night were a little funky. 1 minute the numbers were up, next minute the numbers were down, and every second I had a bunch of different snapshots of the number just going up and down, up and down. Maybe I'll post them, maybe I won't use them, but they were going up and down, and I noticed that very quick. Right. Second off, unlike I guess the LCU where there was enough hype, there was a lot of build up to it, and it was a novel idea at the time. I think some people are kind of burnt down by this whole network thing, right? Almost on the level of Machinima. If people remember what Machinima was like, depending on things, the BBU can easily go down that same route where people can just leave willingly, right? Because that's something I noticed. Becky said that like you can join, we will help you monetize your channel, and it's like, well, what's stopping from just people monetizing their channel and then just leaving? They have no need of loyalty, right? And I do think that's gonna happen more often now, that people are gonna join them for a little bit of time and then just leave, right? Because unless like Becky enforce some type of NDA or some type of agreement where like, well, you can join our network, right? You get to keep all the money, but we'll help you get monetized. But you know, if you leave, you're gonna get like, well, again, people don't want to do that. At least, you know, and as well, like, well, how are you gonna deal with certain drama? I think what made the LCU interesting was everything was interconnected. Maybe the BBU is obviously going to have the interconnection. But again, I think most people just are not going to care for the host. I know that there's a chance he may have people like, Psycho Mom. But Psycho Mom is not that as interesting as people want to believe. I know this people, you know, I know Psycho Mom has her fans, but like, does he really? Like, is it really? Like, most people would have not, like, most people didn't knew about Psycho Mom until like this year because of the LCU, right? And all the other hosts, I know one of them is Roxy, but I'm not like, I think what made people like Roxy was that it was clearly it being faked and scripted. Let's be real. And on the other hand, like, well, we know Dick Gemini is going to be there, but like, do people really know Dick Gemini like that? And I think what it is that she's going to rely on the bulk of her viewership, but that viewership, it's going to drop more and more and more. I think unlike, again, let's compare to LCU, LCL. I think the reason that became so popular was because of the amount of hate that was already built already, right? Around both Keemstar, Tommy C, well, really Keemstar, Wings of Redemption, and Boogie. There was a massive amount of hate. There was probably more hate than love. Yet there were also probably more hate viewers than Becky is ever going to see in her lifetime. Becky is going into this with probably not as or even equal to that amount, if at all. I doubt she's even going into with the same amount of people that like people like Wings or Boogie. And I would probably even say that the viewership she got was mostly made of, like, I think a small minority were actual Becky fans. Another, right, I would say like 30% were made out of Becky Sims. The others were made out of people who were interested, but probably not going to stick around that long. And then the rest were just probably haters, like a mix of the last two sections are like a mix of haters and people who were interested. And, you know, I think because of that, right? I think because of that, those numbers are just going to wither away. They're not going to be there for long. She's going into this so optimistically. And I mean, like, again, the more I think about it, the more I'm like, there's a lot of flaws. At least with Keemstar, he kept everything under his name. He kept everything under his iron rule. And there was a reason behind that. And you can actually understand that reasoning. But in the case of the BBU, it's like, it's so decentralized that, again, what is stopping from somebody joining and then leaving right after they get monetized? It's like, well, I don't got to join these people. Like, those people who can join probably may not even care about the BBU and may even straight up not even like working with anybody. But first chance they get monetized, they can just walk off. And it's going to end up happening more times than you think, because people on YouTube are very you have these small channels, they don't care about stuff like this, right? They only care for their own self-interest, which is not really a bad thing half the time, and they're just going to leave. So in my head, it's like, whatever you're trying to build may be doomed right off the bat. Right? You have yes, you had memberships, you had people paying, but how many of those memberships were people, buying $50? How many individual people are buying membership? I can tell you this month, there were more individual people buying membership for places like Lolcow Live, lolcowuniverse, Tess, even Cafe, and other shows, even Queens or Milkers. There was more individual buying. And I think there's the difference between giving people free memberships through bulks and people willingly buying their own memberships. Because the people who are willingly buying their own membership are going to stick around longer in their network than the people who are buying it through bulk, who are getting it through free membership. There's a clear difference. And those numbers are going to show as time goes on. And it makes me wonder how many people in, let's say, even Lolcow Live are still members who bought single membership and are still around, right? Now, she did make quite a bit of money. She got a crown, but again, how long that's going to stick around? And also, there's a sense of protection, where at least with Keemstar is well protected by YouTube. With Becky, she may not have that. And I think that's what I mean. Whereas like Keem is able to monetize channels within days of them being birthed. But Becky does not have that pull. So let's say a channel does get monetized, but they're going to wait either between 2 weeks to a month to get monetized. And in that point, that person can just leave. There's way too many flaws that are gonna crumble this whole thing. Maybe the positives are like, it's not run by Keemstar, but it's run by Becky, who defended the PDF and lied about SA and is a notorious liar. You know, whether you like RTU or not, RTU was kind of correct about Becky early on, right? Plus, he has such a strong parasocial relationship. That's an issue on top of that, because once you get to a critical mass with your parasocial relationship with your fans, there's no turning back. That is very destructive on both ends, right? And I think that's something Keemstar was actively trying to fight against, because once you hit a critical mass with your parasocial relationship with your fans, you're doomed. You're just doomed. And I have a feeling that these shows are going to be driven by the fans who don't even know what they want. They don't even know what they're going to eat first thing in the morning. So everything, in my honest opinion, it may be okay for the next couple days. But Becky even said, like, she may be streaming, she may stream every single day or every other day. And that's not a good thing, because when you start a network like this, You have to be going 24/7. That's one thing about the lolcow live universe is you're never without some type of content. There's always something there. And I think because of there's always something there, it's enjoyable. If you like Nerds is basically streaming almost 24/7. If you like Cafe is streaming 24/7. If you like Rewind, whatever, it's going on all week long. But if you're going to tell me like we're gonna stream maybe every other day, that doesn't sound good, right? And like let's say a show that's part of your network starts streaming, they get less than like 100 viewers. That's not good. Right up the bat, like you can say, oh, what about Nerds or what about Cafe? They have a dedicated fandom. They are dedicated. Those people are dedicated for a reason, and that's also because like people like Ken, people like Zay, people like Dan, they know how to make content. They know how to structure a show. I realize this video is going on longer than it's supposed to. It was only supposed to be like a 5-minute video going into more in depth. You know, again, we're not sure, but I do think that this is already doomed from the beginning. And I think because of the way Becky is as a person and her mentality and her own, you know, pridefulness, and Roxy's recklessness and the way she is as a person, it's a recipe for disaster. Everything we may start to see, it's already setting itself up for failure. And maybe some people disagree with me, or maybe some people agree with me, but I think that's up to you guys. You know, I'm still gonna cover it, but I'm already noticing certain things that are doom. Till then, God bless.